My twin sister put me in a coma and married my fiance. When the doctor confessed, her whole world collapsed. The hospital room was so silent, you could hear hearts breaking. James stared at the woman in the bed. Wife, the mother of his child, the woman he had loved for 3 years. His voice came out strangled, desperate. Serena, tell me this is wrong. Tell me you're really you. The woman in the bed, my identical twin sister, looked at him with tears streaming down her face. Her hands clutched the blanket like it could save her from what was coming. James, please, let me explain. Explain what? His voice cracked with a pain so raw it cut through the air like glass. Explain how you're not Serena Morrison? Explain how you've been lying to me for 3 years? Explain how the real Serena has been alive this whole time and you just, what, you just let me think she was crazy? Dr. Harrison stepped forward, his voice heavy with the weight of truth. Mr. Whitmore, the fingerprints we took when your wife was admitted last week don't match the fingerprints on file from Serena Morrison's law school registration, but they do match prints on file for her twin sister Sabrina Morrison. That's impossible. James shook his head, backing away. No, I would have known. I would have known if she wasn't. Would you? I spoke for the first time, my voice steady, even though my hands were shaking. I stepped forward from where I had been standing by the door. Because I stood in front of you 2 years ago, James. I begged you to believe me, and you called me crazy. James turned, and when his eyes met mine, I watched the recognition slam into him like a freight train. His face went white, then gray. Serena? He whispered. Yes, I said quietly. I'm Serena. I've always been Serena. And the woman in that bed? That's Sabrina, my twin sister, the woman who ran me off the road, put me in a coma, and stole my entire life while I fought just to survive. Have you ever had someone steal your entire existence? Have you ever woken up to discover that the person you trusted most in the world had tried to erase you from the earth? Have you ever been so completely betrayed that you didn't think you would survive it, only to discover you're stronger than you ever imagined? This is my story. The story of how my identical twin sister tried to kill me and became me, how she married my fiance, lived in my home, practiced law under my name, and had his baby while I slept in. Shelters and studio apartments where gunshots rang out at night. How I lost everything I had worked for, everything I loved, everything I was. But this is also the story of how I clawed my way back from nothing. How I found evidence they never saw coming. How I exposed lies that brought an empire of deception crashing down. How I discovered that the life stolen from you can never compare to the life you build with your own 2 hands. If you have ever felt invisible, if you have ever wanted justice, if you have ever needed to know that broken people can become whole again, and stolen lives can be reclaimed, then this story is for you. Stay with me until the end, because the truth, it was worth every single tear. And the revenge? It was sweeter than anything I could have imagined. But I am getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this all began. To the night my sister decided that my life looked better than hers. To the moment everything I knew shattered like glass. If you believe that the truth always finds its way to the light, I need you to hit that like button right now. If you have ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, someone you loved, drop a comment and tell me where you are watching from. Or just say, I'm with you, Mr. Hearthline. Let me know this family is real. And if you are new here, welcome to Mr. Hearthline Stories, where we don't just tell stories, we tell the truth about life, love, betrayal, and the beautiful possibility of justice. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because you don't want to miss what happens next. Now let me take you back to before the hospital confrontation, back to when I was still Serena Morrison, successful attorney, engaged to the love of my life, with no idea that my own sister was about to destroy everything. 3 years ago, I was 28 years old, and I thought I had the world figured out. I was a junior partner at Hartwell & Associates, one of the most prestigious law firms in Charleston. My office had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor. My closet was full of designer suits that I had earned with 70-hour work weeks and cases won against impossible odds. My calendar was packed with depositions, client meetings, partnership track evaluations. I had worked for this life, clawed my way up from a middle-class background, put myself through law school on scholarships and student loans, spent 3 years as an associate doing the grunt work nobody else wanted to do. I had earned every single thing I had, and I had James Whitmore, cardiothoracic surgeon at Charleston General, brilliant, kind, with hands that saved lives and eyes that looked at me like I was the most precious thing in the world. We had been together for 2 years, engaged for 4 months. The wedding was planned for the following spring. 200 guests, a garden ceremony, a honeymoon in Tuscany. I remember the night he proposed. We were at Baker Beach, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. He got down on one knee in the sand, pulled out a ring that caught the dying light, and said, "Serena Morrison, you are the most brilliant, most beautiful, most extraordinary woman I have ever known. Will you marry me?" I said yes before he even finished the question. That was 6 months before my sister tried to kill me. Sabrina and I were identical twins, same DNA, same face, same hazel eyes and dark hair that fell in waves past our shoulders. When we were children, our parents used to dress us alike, and even they couldn't tell us apart sometimes. We would switch places in school, finish each other's sentences, communicate with looks that no one else could interpret. But somewhere around middle school, things started to change. I discovered I loved learning, loved the challenge of difficult classes, the satisfaction of acing a test, the thrill of being the best. I made honor roll every semester, got accepted into the National Honor Society, became editor of the school newspaper. Sabrina discovered she hated all of it, hated the pressure, the expectations, the constant comparisons. She started skipping classes, started hanging out with kids who smoked behind the gym and talked back to teachers, started failing classes that I aced without trying, and the comparisons got worse. "Why can't you be more like your sister?" our mother would say, standing in the principal's office for the 3rd time that semester because Sabrina had been caught cheating or skipping or talking back. "Serena got a scholarship. Why can't you at least try?" our father would say, shaking his head over Sabrina's report card while mine hung on the refrigerator. Straight A's like always. I tried to help her, offered to tutor her, to help her study, to do anything I could to take the pressure off. But every offer felt like salt in a wound to Sabrina. "I don't need your help," she would snap. "I don't need you to save me. I don't need you to be perfect, so everyone can see how much I'm failing." We grew apart, slowly at first, then all at once. By the time we graduated high school, me with honors and a full ride to college, her barely, scraping by with a diploma, we were strangers who happened to share the same face. I went to college, thrived there, found my passion in law, in advocacy, in using words as weapons for justice. I graduated summa cum laude, got into law school, graduated in the top 10% of my class, passed the bar on my first try. Sabrina went to community college for a semester, then dropped out, worked at a coffee shop, then quit, tried to be a personal trainer, then gave up, moved from job to job, apartment to apartment, relationship to relationship, never settling, never succeeding, never happy. I felt sorry for her, wished things were different, but I was busy building my life, and Sabrina was busy, well, I didn't really know what she was busy doing. We barely talked, saw each other at Christmas and Thanksgiving, made awkward small talk, then went back to our separate lives. I didn't know she hated me, didn't know that every achievement I celebrated felt like a personal attack to her, didn't know that she looked at my life and thought, that should be mine. I didn't know until it was too late. The night it happened was a Tuesday in April. I remember because I had just won a major case, a corporate litigation battle that had dragged on for 8 months. My client was ecstatic. My boss was impressed. I was exhausted, but thrilled. I worked late that night, finishing up paperwork, responding to emails, preparing for the next case. It was almost 9 o'clock when I finally left the office. The sky was dark, heavy with clouds that promised rain. By the time I got to my car, the first drops were falling. I called James from the car. He was just getting off a 12-hour shift, his voice tired but warm. "How's my brilliant fiance?" he asked. "Victorious," I said, smiling even though he couldn't see me. We won. Complete victory. That's my girl. I'm so proud of you. Are you heading home? Yeah. Traffic is light. I should be there in 20 minutes. Drive safe. I love you. I love you too. Those were the last normal words I would speak for 2 months. I took my usual route home. Riverside Drive, winding along the water, usually quiet this time of night. The rain was coming down harder now, heavy sheets that made the roads slick and the visibility poor. I slowed down, turned on my wipers, focused on the taillights of the car ahead of me. I never saw her coming. The impact came from the side, sudden and violent. Metal crunched. Glass exploded. My car spun, completely out of control, and I remember screaming, hands frozen on the wheel, unable to do anything but hold on. The guardrail shattered like it was made of paper. My car went over the edge, tumbling down the embankment. The world was spinning, crashing, breaking. Pain exploded through my body. My head slammed against something hard. Then everything went dark. I don't remember the ambulance, don't remember the paramedics pulling me from the wreckage, don't remember the emergency room or the surgery or the doctors fighting to save my life. I don't remember the first week in the coma, or the second, or the 6th. I don't remember my sister visiting the hospital, standing by my bed with tears in her eyes that were half real and half performance, telling James how devastated she was, how much she loved me, how she would do anything to help. I don't remember her making a deal with Dr. Jack Reynolds, $50,000 in cash to transfer me to County General under a false name, to sedate me, keep me quiet, make me disappear. I don't remember her stepping into my life like stepping into a costume, taking my name, my home, my fiancé, my entire existence. I don't remember any of it, because I was gone, trapped in darkness, my brain swelling, my body broken, fighting a battle I didn't even know I was in. And while I fought, Sabrina became me. 8 weeks after the accident, I opened my eyes. The room was wrong. That was my first thought. The walls were beige instead of white. The ceiling had water stains. The machines around me looked old, outdated. The smell was wrong too. Industrial cleaner and something else, something that smelled like neglect. This wasn't Metro General. This wasn't the private hospital where James worked, where I should have been, where people who loved me would have been keeping vigil. Where was I? A nurse noticed me stirring, called for a doctor. A woman in scrubs appeared, shining a light in my eyes, asking me questions in a gentle voice. Can you tell me your name? Serena, I managed. My voice was raw, strange, like it belonged to someone else. Serena Morrison. Where am I? Where's James? The doctor exchanged a look with the nurse. You're at County General. You were transferred here about 6 weeks ago, from Metro General. You've been in a coma for 2 months. 2 months. The words didn't make sense. 2 months of my life, just gone. And transferred? Why would I be transferred? I need to call my fiancé. I tried to sit up, but my body wouldn't cooperate. James Whitmore. He's a surgeon at Charleston General. Please, I need to tell him I'm okay. Let's take this slow, the doctor said. You've been through significant trauma. We need to run some tests, make sure you're stable before. No. Panic was rising in my chest, sharp and suffocating. No, I need to call him now. I need to. I need my phone. Where's my phone? You were brought here as a Jane Doe, the nurse said gently. No personal belongings. No identification. We've been trying to figure out who you are. Jane Doe. No identification. Something was very, very wrong. They ran their tests. Checked my vitals, my reflexes, my cognitive function. 2 months in a coma had left me weak. My muscles atrophied. My body feeling like it belonged to someone else. But my mind was sharp, clear, and getting more terrified by the minute. Why was I listed as Jane Doe? Why had I been transferred from Metro General, where James worked, where my name would have been on every record? Why hadn't anyone been looking for me? During a shift change, when the nurses were distracted with incoming patients and the hallway was chaos, I made my move. I pulled the 4 from my arm, ignored the sharp sting and the blood that welled up. I slid out of bed, my legs shaking so badly I almost fell. 2 months of unconsciousness had stolen my strength, but adrenaline and fear pushed me forward. There was a staff closet across from my room. I ducked inside, found donated clothes, pants that were too big, a shirt that smelled like mothballs, shoes that didn't fit right. I put them on with shaking hands. Then I walked through the hallway like I had every right to be there, through the lobby, out the front doors into the cool evening air. No one stopped me. To them, I was just another visitor leaving. I had no money, no phone, no ID, but I knew Charleston. I knew how to get home. It took me 4 hours to walk from County General to the penthouse James and I shared downtown. 4 hours on legs that screamed in protest, through neighborhoods that got progressively safer as I got closer to the waterfront. 4 hours to think about what could possibly have happened, to try to make sense of something that made no sense at all. By the time I reached our building, the sun was setting. The doorman was someone I didn't recognize. Knew. I slipped past him while he was helping an elderly resident with groceries, took the elevator to the 20th floor. To home. My hands were shaking as I reached for the door. But I stopped before knocking. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows that looked into the living room, I could see movement. Lights on. Someone home. Relief flooded through me. James. He would be so worried, so relieved to see me, so... Then I saw her. My sister, Sabrina, walking through my living room, my space, wearing what looked like my robe, moving with comfortable familiarity, like she belonged there. What was she doing here? And then I saw it. The curve of her belly, small, but unmistakable. She was pregnant. My hand flew to my mouth. No, that wasn't possible. Sabrina was pregnant? In my apartment? Where was James? What was happening? I knocked on the door, pounded on it, actually, hard enough that my fists hurt. The door opened. James stood there, and when he saw me, his face went white as bone. Serena? He whispered. Yes. Relief crashed through me so hard I almost fell. James, thank God. I was in an accident. I've been in a coma for 2 months. I just woke up and I don't know what's happening, but Sabrina is here and she's pregnant and... Honey? Another voice. Sabrina appeared behind James, one hand resting on her rounded belly. Who is it? She looked at me, and for just a fraction of a second, I saw it. Recognition, panic, fear, cold, calculated fear. Then her face transformed into perfect shock. Oh my God, she breathed. Sabrina, you're back. The world tilted sideways. What? I stared at her. What did you just call me? James was looking between us now, between two identical women standing in his doorway. His fiancée, pregnant and calm and familiar, and this other woman, wild-eyed and desperate in donated clothes that didn't fit. Sabrina, he said slowly, carefully. I know this must be confusing for you. I'm not Sabrina. The words came out as a scream. I'm Serena. James, look at me. Really look at me. Me. But my sister, my identical twin, stepped forward with perfect concern painted on her face. She reached out like she wanted to comfort me. Sweetie, she said, her voice so gentle, so convincing. I know you remember these things. You were there for a lot of them. You were supposed to be my maid of honor before you had your breakdown and had to leave. Breakdown? I grabbed James's arm, desperate now. James, I don't know what she told you, but I'm Serena, your fiancé. We're supposed to get married in the spring. You proposed at Baker Beach. Our song is Can't Help Falling in Love. I'm a junior partner at Hartwell and Associates. Please, you have to believe me. And I watched my sister's face as she prepared to destroy me with my own memories. Baker Beach, she said softly, addressing James but looking at me. Elvis, the law firm. She knows all these things because we're twins. We shared everything, but Sabrina has been struggling for a long time, getting confused about whose life is whose achievements are whose. She turned to James, and I saw tears in her eyes. Real-looking tears. She's been jealous of me since we were children. It's part of why we grew apart. She wanted everything I had, and sometimes, especially when she's under stress, she... She believes eyes me. That's a lie. I was screaming now, couldn't stop, couldn't control the panic rising in my chest like floodwater. James, she's lying. I was in a car accident on Riverside Drive 2 months ago. Someone ran me off the road. I've been in a coma at County General. I just woke up and came straight here. County General? James frowned. But Serena has been here, with me, for the past 2 months. He gestured at my sister, has been planning the wedding, working at the firm, going to doctor's appointments. She's pregnant with our baby. The floor dropped out from under me. Pregnant with our baby. She's pregnant with our baby. Our baby. No, I whispered. No, that's not possible. I'm calling Dr. Patterson, James said, pulling out his phone. He can help you. He specializes in dissociative disorders, identity issues. Sabrina, you need help. Don't call me that. My voice was breaking. I'm not Sabrina. I'm Serena. I'm your fiancé. We're supposed to get married on April 20th. We picked out the flowers together, peonies and roses. The dress is at Belle's Bridal, champagne-colored, size 4. Your mother's ring, the one you proposed with, it has an inscription inside. Forever yours. You had it engraved the day before you proposed. James hesitated. I saw doubt flicker across his face. Because how would I know that? How would Sabrina know about the inscription unless... She knows because I told her, my sister said smoothly. She's my sister. My twin. We used to tell each other everything before she got sick. It was perfect. Every answer, every explanation, perfectly crafted. And I realized, with growing horror, that she had planned this. All of it. The accident, the coma, taking my place. This wasn't spontaneous. This was calculated. Who are you? I whispered, staring at my sister. What have you done? Something flickered in her eyes. Something cold and triumphant, but her voice remained gentle, concerned. James, she should go somewhere she can get help. She's clearly having an episode. James was nodding, phone in hand. I'm calling for a psychiatric evaluation. Sabrina, you're not well. Let us help you. Terror shot through me. If they committed me, if they put me in a psychiatric facility, I would disappear completely. No one would ever believe me. I would be trapped, labeled as delusional, while my sister lived my life. I ran, turned and ran down the hallway, my weak legs barely holding me up. Behind me, I heard James calling. Heard doors opening as neighbors came to see what the commotion was about. But I didn't stop. I made it to the stairwell, took the stairs as fast as my trembling body would allow. 20 floors down, my lungs burning, my legs screaming. Out through the lobby, past the confused doorman, into the street. I ran until I couldn't run anymore, ran until my legs gave out, and I collapsed on a bench in a park 3 miles from the penthouse. Collapsed and sobbed so hard I thought I would break apart. My sister had stolen my life, had somehow convinced James, convinced everyone that she was me. And when I came back, when I showed up alive and desperate and begging to be believed, they thought I was her, thought I was crazy. I had nothing, no identification, no money, no one who would believe me. I was a ghost in my own life, and I had no idea what to do. I don't know how long I sat there on that bench, crying until I couldn't cry anymore. The park grew dark around me. Streetlights flickered on. In the distance I could hear traffic, music from a bar, someone laughing. Normal life. Continuing like my world hadn't just ended. Dear? A voice broke through my grief. Are you all right? I looked up. An elderly woman stood a few feet away, a small dog on a leash beside her. She was maybe 70, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses and deep lines around her mouth that spoke of a life well lived. She wore a cardigan despite the warm evening, and she was looking at me with genuine concern. I tried to speak, couldn't, tried again. I'm not okay. I can see that. The woman moved closer slowly, carefully, like approaching a wounded animal. Do you have somewhere to go? Someone to call? I shook my head. No. I have no one. Nothing. The woman studied me for a long moment. Then, She made a decision. I could see it happen. See her shoulders straighten and her jaw set. "Come with me," she said. "What?" "My name is Rose Fletcher. I live 2 blocks from here. I have a spare room and a pot of soup on the stove. You look like you could use both." "I don't. I can't. I don't even know you." "No," Rose said gently. "And I don't know you. But I know what it looks like when someone has lost everything. And I know that sometimes a stranger's kindness is the only thing standing between giving up and holding on. So, come with me. No questions tonight. Just safety." I didn't have the strength to argue, didn't have the strength to do anything but follow this stranger with kind eyes to her small row house 2 blocks away. The house was exactly what you'd expect from a woman named Rose Fletcher. Tidy, warm, filled with photos of grandchildren and Afghans draped over furniture and the smell of something cooking. She led me to a small bathroom, pointed to clean towels and said, "Take a shower. I'll find you something to wear." The shower was the first luxury I allowed myself. Hot water washing away the hospital smell, the donated clothes, the feeling of being lost and erased. I stood under the spray until it ran cold, until I felt almost human again. Rose had left clothes on the bed in the spare room. Soft pajamas, thick socks, a robe that smelled like lavender. I put them on and made my way to the kitchen, where Rose was ladling soup into bowls. We ate in silence. The soup was chicken and vegetables, homemade, the kind that tastes like comfort. I didn't realize how hungry I was until I started eating. Didn't realize that I hadn't had real food in 2 months, just whatever they'd been feeding me through tubes. After the meal, Rose made tea, set 2 cups on the kitchen table, sat down across from me, and said, "Do you want to tell me what happened? I don't think you'd believe me. Try me." Rose's eyes were steady, calm. "I've been a nurse for 40 years. I've seen a lot of impossible things turn out to be true." So I told her. Not everything, just enough. That someone had hurt me, taken something precious, and no one believed me when I tried to get it back. That I had lost everything and had nowhere to go. Rose listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment, sipping her tea. "This person who hurt you," she said finally, "are they dangerous?" "Yes." "Will they come looking for you?" "I don't know." "Maybe. Probably." Rose nodded slowly. "Then you need to disappear. Completely. New name, new city, new life. At least for now. At least until you're strong enough to fight back. I can't just disappear. I have a career, a life. They took that life," Rose interrupted gently. "Right now, trying to get it back will only put you in more danger. So you survive first, you rebuild, and when you're strong enough, when you have proof and resources and solid ground under your feet, then you fight." She reached across the table, took my hand in hers. Hands that were weathered and strong, hands that had seen decades of healing. "I'm going to help you," Rose said. "I'm going to help you disappear, and someday, when you're ready, you're going to reclaim everything that was stolen. But first, we survive." Agreed. I looked at this stranger who was offering me a lifeline I didn't deserve, help I couldn't repay. "Why?" I whispered. "Why would you do this for me?" "Because 30 years ago, I was in a situation I couldn't explain to anyone, and a stranger helped me when no one else would." She smiled sadly. "I'm just paying it forward. Besides, I have a feeling about you, a feeling you're going to do something important with this second chance." I started crying again, but this time, it wasn't despair. It was gratitude. Overwhelming, unexpected gratitude. "Thank you," I managed. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Rose said. "We have a lot of work to do." Over the next 3 weeks, Rose Fletcher orchestrated my disappearance. She helped me get a new identification. Not fake exactly, but using my middle name and my mother's maiden name. Serena Elena Morrison became Elena Dawson. It was legal enough to get me by, to open a bank account, to apply for jobs, to exist. She gave me $2,000 from her savings. When I protested, she waved me off. "I've been saving for a vacation I'm too old to take," she said. "Consider it an investment in your future." She bought me a bus ticket to Portland, far enough to be safe, big enough to disappear into, progressive enough that a woman starting over wouldn't raise eyebrows, and she gave me advice that I would carry with me forever. The night before I left, Rose and I sat in her kitchen one last time, drinking tea like we'd done every night for 3 weeks. "You're going to want revenge," Rose said. "It's natural. Someone hurt you, and you're going to want to hurt them back." "I do want revenge," I admitted. "I know, but here's what I learned the hard way." Rose's eyes were serious. "Revenge is a trap. It keeps you tied to the person who hurt you, keeps them at the center of your life, even when they're gone. What you need is something better than revenge." "What's that?" "A life so beautiful they can never touch it." Rose reached over, squeezed my hand. "You rebuild yourself into someone so strong, so successful, so genuinely happy that when they finally see you again, when the truth finally comes out, they realize they didn't destroy you. They freed you. That's better than any revenge." I held on to those words like a prayer. The next morning, Rose drove me to the bus station. We didn't talk much. What was there to say? This woman had saved my life in every way that mattered. At the bus, Rose hugged me tight. "You're going to be extraordinary," she whispered. "I know it. And someday, when your story has a happy ending, I want you to call me." "I will," I promised. "I'll call you. I'll tell you everything. I know you will. Now go. Go build something beautiful." I got on that bus with $2,000, a fake name, and a broken heart. Watched Charleston disappear through the rear window. Watched my old life fade into the distance. And I promised myself that Rose was right. I would build something beautiful, something real, something that was truly mine, even if I had no idea how. The bus ride to Portland took 14 hours. I spent most of it staring out the window, watching the landscape change from southern coastal to Piedmont to mountains to the green, rain-washed beauty of the Pacific Northwest. I arrived in Portland on a gray morning, rain falling in that gentle, persistent way that I would come to associate with my new home. I stepped off the bus with my single bag of belongings and looked around, at a city I'd never been to, where I knew no one, where I had no plan. And I felt, for the first time in weeks, a tiny flicker of hope. This was a blank slate, a chance to be whoever I wanted to be. Yes, I'd had that taken from me. Yes, it was unfair and painful and wrong, but I was alive. I was free. And I had a chance to start over. I just had to take it. The first month in Portland was the hardest of my life. I found a youth hostel that rented beds by the week, $15 a night for a bunk in a room with 5 other women. The mattress was thin, the room smelled like mildew and unwashed bodies, and the bathroom was shared by 20 people. But it was shelter. It was safe. It was something. I spent my days looking for work. Any work. I had been a lawyer, a junior partner at a prestigious firm. I had argued cases in front of judges, negotiated million-dollar settlements, built a reputation as someone sharp and relentless. But Elena Dawson had none of that. Elena Dawson had a college degree in marketing, according to her identification, but no work history, no references, no proof she could do anything. I applied everywhere. Coffee shops, retail stores, cleaning companies, temp agencies. Most didn't call back. The ones that did took one look at me, saw someone overqualified and desperate, and passed. I was running out of money. $2,000 sounds like a lot until you're paying for a place, to sleep, and food to eat, and bus fare to job interviews that go nowhere. By the end of the first month, I was down to $300. I was terrified. One evening, I was sitting in a coffee shop, nursing a small cup that I'd made last. 2 hours, looking at job listings on the public library computer I'd been using. A listing caught my eye. Pierce and Associates, prestigious architectural and design firm seeking paralegal. Competitive salary, benefits, room for growth. Paralegal. I'd been a lawyer. I could do paralegal work in my sleep. But could Elena Dawson? Could I risk applying for a legal job when my actual bar license was in Serena Morrison's name, a name I couldn't use? I was desperate enough to try. I crafted a resume that was truthful but incomplete. Marketing degree, organizational skills, experience with contracts and legal documents, though I attributed it to an administrative role rather than practicing law. I made myself look qualified without revealing too much. I sent it in and tried not to hope too hard. 3 days later, I got a call. A woman with a professional, friendly voice. "This is calling from Pierce and Associates. We received your application for the paralegal position. Mr. Pierce would like to interview you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Would that work for you?" "Yes," I said, trying to keep the desperation out of my voice. "Yes, that would be perfect. Thank you." I hung up and allowed myself exactly 10 minutes to panic. Then, I pulled myself together. I had one decent outfit, a simple black dress I'd bought at a thrift store, paired with the only shoes I owned that weren't sneakers. I washed my hair in the hostel sink, dried it as best I could, practiced smiling in the cloudy mirror. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., I was going to walk into that law firm and convince them I was worth hiring. I had to. I was almost out of money and out of options. Pierce & Associates was in a beautiful building downtown, all glass and steel and modern design. I walked through the lobby at 10 minutes to 2, my heart pounding, my hands sweating despite the cool air. The receptionist smiled at me. "Elena Dawson? For Mr. Pierce?" "Yes. Have a seat. He'll be with you shortly." I sat in a chair that probably cost more than a month's rent and tried to calm my breathing. This was just an interview. I'd done hundreds of interviews in my career. On the other side, yes, as the lawyer doing the hiring. But still, I knew how this worked. I could do this. "Miss Dawson?" The receptionist was smiling at me again. "Mr. Pierce will see you now. Third door on the left." I stood, smoothed my dress, and walked down the hallway on legs that felt steadier than they had in weeks. The office was a corner space with huge windows overlooking the city. The rain had stopped, and pale sunlight was breaking through the clouds, making everything look clean and new. The furniture was modern but warm, the kind of design that spoke of success without being ostentatious. And behind the desk, standing as I entered, was Adrian Pierce. He was 29, though I wouldn't learn that until later. Tall, with dark hair that was just slightly too long, sharp blue eyes that were both intelligent and kind. He wore a suit that was perfectly tailored, but he'd loosened his tie and rolled up his sleeves like he'd been working hard and couldn't be bothered with formality. When our eyes met, something happened. I don't know how to explain it except to say that the air changed, became charged, like the moment before lightning strikes. "Miss Dawson," he said, and his voice was deeper than I expected. Warmer. "Please, sit." "Thank you," I managed. The interview should have been routine. He asked about my experience, my skills, why I was interested in the position. I gave answers that were honest without being complete. Talked about my love for organization, for problem solving, for the satisfaction of bringing order to chaos. But Adrian kept looking at me like he was seeing past my words, like he was reading something in my face, my posture, my carefully controlled answers. "You're overqualified for this position," he said finally. My heart sank. Here it came, the polite rejection. "I understand if, why are you really here?" He leaned forward, his eyes serious. "And I don't mean why do you want this job. I mean, why is someone with your intelligence, your obvious legal knowledge, applying for an entry-level paralegal position in a city where you clearly have no connections?" I could have lied, should have lied. But something about the directness of the question, the genuine curiosity in his eyes, made me tell a version of the truth. "I'm starting over," I said quietly. "I had a life somewhere else. That life, it didn't work out. I'm here to build something new, and I need someone to give me a chance to do that." Adrian studied me for a long moment. I felt exposed, vulnerable, like he could see every secret I was carrying. Then he smiled, small, but genuine. "The position is yours if you want it." I blinked. "Just like that? Just like that?" He leaned back in his chair. "I'm good at reading people, Miss Dawson. And what I read in you is someone who will work harder than anyone else in this office, someone who has something to prove. Those are the people I want on my team. When can I start?" The words came out before I could stop them. "How about Monday? That gives you a few days to get settled." "Monday is perfect. Thank you." I stood, extended my hand. "Thank you so much." He shook my hand, and I felt that charge again, like touching a live wire. "Welcome to Pierce & Associates, Elena." I walked out of that office, out of that building, into the gray Portland afternoon, and I let myself cry. But this time, they were tears of relief, of hope, of the first good thing that had happened since I woke up from that coma. I had a job. I had a chance. I had a future. And I had met someone who looked at me like I mattered. I didn't know it then, but Adrian Pierce had just become the most important person in my life. That night, back at the hostel, I allowed myself to dream, to imagine what my life in Portland could look like. An apartment of my own, a career I built with my own hands. Maybe, someday, people who cared about me not because of who I used to be, but because of who I was becoming. It felt impossible, but then again, 3 months ago, surviving my sister's attempt to murder me had felt impossible too. And here I was, breathing, fighting, surviving. Rose had been right. Survival first, then strength, then, maybe, justice. I fell asleep that night with something I hadn't felt in months. Hope, fragile and small, but real. And I held onto it like a lifeline. Family, we're just getting started. What you've heard so far, that's only the beginning of Serena's journey from rock bottom to redemption. If this story is gripping you, if you're feeling Serena's pain and her strength, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that like button. Smash it. This story needs to reach people who are fighting their own battles, who need to know that stolen lives can be reclaimed and broken people can be made whole. Monday morning came faster than I expected. I woke up at 5 a.m. in the hostel, too nervous to sleep any longer. I showered in the communal bathroom, put on my thrift store dress, and tried to make myself look professional with the limited resources I had. By 7:30, I was standing outside Pierce & Associates watching through the glass doors as employees filtered in, architects with portfolios under their arms, paralegals carrying coffee in briefcases, everyone moving with purpose, with belonging. I took a deep breath and walked inside. The receptionist from my interview looked up and smiled. "Elena, right? Welcome. Mr. Pierce asked me to get you set up. Come with me." She led me through the office, pointing out the break room, the supply closet, the conference rooms. Then we stopped at a small office, not a cubicle, an actual office with a door and a window. "This is yours," she said. "Mr. Pierce doesn't believe in cubicles. Says everyone deserves their own space." I stepped inside, barely believing it. A desk, a chair, a computer, a window that looked out over the city. It was small, but it was mine. The first space that had been mine since I woke up from that coma. "Thank you," I managed. "Coffee is in the break room, always fresh. We do a team lunch on Fridays. And if you need anything, just ask. We're a pretty friendly group here." She left me to get settled. I sat down at the desk, ran my hands over the smooth surface, and allowed myself a moment to just breathe. I was here. I had made it. This was real. A knock on the door frame made me look up. Adrian stood there, suit jacket off, tie loosened, coffee in hand. He looked different than he had during the interview. More relaxed, more human. "Settling in okay?" he asked. "Yes, it's wonderful." "Thank you. Good." He stepped into the office, handed me a file folder. "This is your first project. Contract review for a residential development. Pretty straightforward. I just need you to check for inconsistencies, flag anything that seems off. Think you can handle it?" I opened the folder, scanned the first page. This was basic contract law, the kind of thing I could do in my sleep. "Definitely. Great. Take your time. Be thorough. And Elena?" He paused at the door. "I meant what I said in the interview. I think you're going to do really well here." He left before I could respond. I stared at the empty doorway for a moment, then looked down at the contract in my hands. And I got to work. The first week at Pierce & Associates was a blur of learning the office systems, the filing protocols, the personalities, learning which attorneys liked their contracts summarized and which wanted every detail, learning the rhythm of the office, the ebb and flow of busy days and quiet afternoons. And I was good at it. Better than good. I finished the contract review in half the time estimated, found 3 inconsistencies that, could have caused problems down the line, and presented my findings in a clear, concise memo. Adrian called me into his office the next day. "This is impressive work," he said, holding up my memo. "Really impressive. Where did you learn contract law?" "I took some business law classes in college," I lied smoothly. "And I've always been good at spotting patterns, inconsistencies. Well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it." He smiled, and I felt something warm unfold in my chest. "I'm giving you more complex projects going forward. You're wasted on basic review. Thank you. That means a lot. You've earned it." With my first paycheck, I moved out of the hostel. I found a studio apartment in a neighborhood that wasn't great but wasn't dangerous. The apartment was small, maybe 400 square feet, with a kitchenette, a bathroom, and a main room that served as bedroom and living space. The carpet was old, the appliances older, but it was clean. And it was mine. I furnished it slowly, carefully. A futon from a thrift store, a small table with 2 chairs, dishes from the dollar store, a lamp that flickered sometimes, but worked. Every purchase was calculated, budgeted, earned, and every night I came home to my own space, locked my own door, and felt a little bit more like a real person. Work became my anchor. I threw myself into every project, stayed late when needed, volunteered for the difficult assignments no one else wanted. I was building a reputation. Elena Dawson, the paralegal, who was sharp, reliable, thorough. I was building a life. 6 weeks into the job, the coffee started appearing. I arrived at my office one morning to find a cup on my desk, a vanilla latte with extra foam, still hot, with a small note beside it. "Hope your Monday is as lovely as you are." No name, no signature. I looked around, but the office was still mostly empty. Early morning, just a few people at their desks, no one paying attention to me. I picked up the coffee, took a sip. It was perfect, exactly how I liked it, though I'd never told anyone. The next morning, there was another one. Same coffee, different note. "Your smile makes this office brighter." The morning after that, flowers. A small arrangement of white roses in a simple vase. "In case no one has told you lately, you're extraordinary." The office started buzzing with speculation. "Elena has a secret admirer." Who could it be? One of the attorneys? Someone from another floor? I didn't know, but I found myself looking forward to each morning. To the mystery, to feeling seen, appreciated, valued. It had been so long since anyone had made me feel that way. The flowers changed daily. Tulips, peonies, daisies, always simple, always beautiful. The notes continued, small affirmations that somehow knew exactly what I needed to hear. "The way you solve problems is poetry. I hope you know how brilliant you are. This office is better because you're in it." 2 months into my job, I was working late on a motion that needed to be filed the next morning. The office was empty, quiet except for the hum of my computer and the distant sounds of the city outside. I heard footsteps in the hallway, looked up to see Adrian standing in my doorway. "You're still here," he said. "This motion needs to be perfect." I wanted to give it one more review. He walked into my office, leaned against the desk. It was the most casual I'd ever seen him, tie gone, shirt sleeves rolled up, hair slightly mussed like he'd been running his hands through it. "You know you don't have to work this hard, right? You've already proven yourself." "I want to work this hard," I said honestly. "This job, it matters to me. I can see that." He was quiet for a moment, then said, "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. Why did you really come to Portland? And don't give me the starting over answer. What are you running from?" The question hit harder than I expected. I looked at him, at those sharp blue eyes that seemed to see through every defense I'd built, and I felt something crack open inside me. "Someone hurt me," I said quietly. "Someone I trusted. They took things from me that I can't get back. And I came here because I needed to be somewhere they couldn't find me. Somewhere I could figure out who I am without them." Adrian's expression softened. "I'm sorry. That must have been incredibly painful." "It was. It is." I looked down at my hands. "But being here, having this job, it's helping. I'm building something that's mine, that no one can take away. Good." He pushed off from the desk. "You deserve that. You deserve to feel safe and valued and seen." The way he said seen made me look up. "It's you," I said. "The coffee, the flowers, all of it. It's you, isn't it?" Adrian went very still. Then slowly, he nodded. "Yes, it's me." "Why?" "Because from the moment you walked into my office for that interview, I couldn't stop thinking about you. I know it's inappropriate. I know I'm your boss, and this crosses about a dozen lines. But I needed you to know that someone sees you, Elena. Someone sees how hard you're working, how brilliant you are, how much strength it takes to rebuild from nothing." My throat was tight. Tears were threatening, and I blinked them back. "You don't even know me. Then let me." He moved closer, his voice gentle. "Let me know you. No pressure, no expectations. Just let me take you to dinner. As friends, if that's all you want. But I'd really like to get to know the woman behind all that strength." I should have said no. Should have kept my walls up, kept my distance. I was living a lie. Every day I came to work as Elena Dawson was another day of deception. Getting close to anyone was dangerous. But I was so tired of being alone, so tired of carrying everything by myself. "Okay," I whispered. "Dinner. As friends." His smile was like sunrise. "Tomorrow night? I know a quiet place, good food, better conversation. Tomorrow night." He left, and I sat in my office for a long time afterward, staring at the motion on my screen without seeing it. What was I doing? Getting involved with my boss, with anyone, when my entire identity was a lie? When my real name, my real life, my real self was still back in Charleston being worn by my sister like a costume? But then I thought about the coffee every morning, the flowers, the notes that somehow knew exactly what I needed to hear, the way Adrian looked at me like I was someone worth seeing, and I thought, maybe I could have this, just for a little while, just enough to remember what it felt like to be cared for. The restaurant Adrian chose was perfect, small, intimate, tucked away on a quiet street, soft lighting, excellent food, the kind of place where you could actually have a conversation. We talked for 3 hours. He told me about growing up in Portland, about discovering his love for architecture in high school, about building his firm from nothing, about the pressure of success, the loneliness of always being the boss, the difficulty of trusting people who might just want something from you. I told him carefully edited versions of my life, about growing up with a complicated family, about loving learning, loving the challenge of difficult problems, about losing people I thought I could trust. We didn't talk about anything too deep. Not yet, but there was an ease between us, a natural rhythm to the conversation that felt rare and precious. When he drove me home, he walked me to my door. "I had a really good time tonight," he said. "Me too. Can we do it again?" "I'd like that." He didn't try to kiss me, just squeezed my hand gently and said good night. I went inside, closed the door, and allowed myself to smile. A real, genuine smile that reached all the way to my eyes. For the first time since waking up from that coma, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I could be happy again. The relationship with Adrian developed slowly, carefully, over the next 6 months. Dinners turned into weekend coffee. Coffee turned into walks through Portland's parks. Walks turned into him cooking dinner at his place, me bringing wine and staying late talking. He was patient, never pushed for more than I was ready to give, never asked questions I couldn't answer, just showed up, consistently, with kindness and genuine interest. And I fell in love with him. It happened gradually, like spring arriving. One day I looked at him and realized that he was the first person I thought about in the morning, that his smile could change my entire day, that the idea of losing him felt unbearable. 6 months into our relationship, he promoted me. "I called you into my office because I have a proposition," he said, entirely professional despite the fact that we'd spent the previous evening tangled together on his couch, talking until midnight. "A proposition?" He slid a business card across the desk. "Elena Dawson, Associate Attorney." I stared at it. "Adrian, I can't. I don't have." "You're brilliant," he interrupted. "I've watched you for 6 months. You think like a lawyer, write like a lawyer, solve problems like a lawyer. I don't know why you're working as a paralegal when you clearly have legal training, and I'm not going to ask, but I'm offering you the position you should have had from the beginning. I can't practice law. The words came out before I could stop them. Why not? Because my credentials, they're complicated. Then we'll work around it. You'll be an associate in name, do research, write briefs, consult on cases. No courtroom work, if that's the issue. But, Elena, I'm not going to waste your talent on contract review anymore. You're worth more than that. Tears were threatening. He kept doing this, kept seeing value in me when I felt worthless, kept offering me chances I didn't deserve. Thank you, I managed. You've earned it. He smiled. And just so we're clear, this has nothing to do with our relationship. This is purely professional. You're the best legal mind in this office. That night, he took me to dinner to celebrate. A nicer restaurant this time, champagne and dessert, and his hand holding mine across the table. I'm proud of you, he said. I didn't do anything. You gave me the promotion. No, you earned it. You came to a new city with nothing and built a career in 6 months. That's extraordinary. I looked at this man who believed in me, who saw me, who made me feel valuable. And I felt the secret I was carrying grow heavier. He didn't know my real name. Didn't know about Sabrina, about James, about everything I'd lost. Didn't know that the woman he was falling in love with was living a lie. I needed to tell him. Someday, I needed to tell him everything. But not yet. Not when things were so good. Not when I was finally happy. 1 year after I arrived in Portland, everything changed. I woke up screaming. The nightmare had been vivid, visceral. Sabrina's face, wearing my life like a costume. James looking at me with cold eyes, calling me crazy. The coma, the darkness, the feeling of being erased. I sat up in Adrian's bed. We'd been staying at each other's places more and more, gasping for air, tears streaming down my face. Hey, I've got you. Adrian pulled me into his arms, his heart racing against my back. You're safe. I'm here. I couldn't stop shaking, couldn't stop crying. The nightmare had opened something I'd been keeping locked away for a year. All the pain, all the fear, all the grief I'd been too busy surviving to process. Talk to me, Adrian said gently. Please, let me help. And suddenly, I couldn't hold it in anymore. Couldn't keep living this lie with the one person who'd shown me genuine love. My name isn't Elena, I choked out. Adrian went very still. What? My name is Serena. Serena Morrison, and a year ago, my identical twin sister tried to kill me and stole my entire life. The words poured out. Everything. The accident, the coma, waking up to find Sabrina pregnant and living as me. James not believing me, running. Rose, creating Elena Dawson, coming to Portland with nothing. I told him everything I'd been carrying alone for a year. When I finished, Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, his voice tight with barely controlled fury, Where are they? Your sister, your ex, where are they? Charleston, but Adrian. I want their names. I want their addresses. I want to destroy them for what they did to you. The protective rage in his voice made me turn to look at him. His jaw was clenched, his eyes blazing. No, I said softly. I don't want revenge. I don't want to go back to that life, to those people. I want this. You. Here. This life we're building. Please, let me have peace instead of justice. Adrian stared at me, breathing hard. Then he cupped my face in his hands. I love you, he said fiercely. God, Serena, I love you so much, and I'm so sorry for what they did to you. I'm so sorry you went through that alone. I love you too. The words came out on a sob. I didn't think I could love anyone again, but I do. I love you. He kissed me then, deep and desperate and full of everything we'd been building toward for months. Kissed me like he could heal every wound, erase every scar, make up for every moment I'd suffered alone. We made love that night, but it was more than that. It was reclaiming. It was healing. It was two broken people putting each other back together piece by careful piece. You're mine, he breathed against my skin. Not hers, not his, not the past's. Mine, say it. Yours, I gasped. Yours, Adrian. Always yours. Afterward, wrapped in his arms, I felt something I hadn't felt in over a year. Whole, not Elena Dawson, not the broken shell of Serena Morrison. Just me, fully seen, fully known, fully loved. Thank you, I whispered into the darkness. For what? For believing me, for loving me anyway, for seeing me when I felt invisible. Adrian pressed a kiss to my temple. You're impossible not to see. You're impossible not to love. And Serena? He tightened his arms around me. I'm going to make sure you never feel invisible again. I fell asleep in his arms, safer than I'd felt since before the accident. And for the first time in a year, I didn't have nightmares. The next morning, Adrian woke me with coffee and a serious expression. I've been thinking, he said, sitting on the edge of the bed, about your situation. Adrian, I don't want to. Just hear me out. He took my hand. You don't have to do anything you're not ready for. But Serena, what your sister did, that's attempted murder, identity theft, fraud. She's living a lie, and if she's still practicing law under your name, that's unauthorized practice too. I know. I'd thought about it 1,000 times. At some point, the truth is going to come out. Either you control when and how, or it controls you. I don't have proof. It's my word against hers, and she's been me for over a year now. She has a husband, a child, a whole life built on that lie. Who's going to believe me? We'll find proof. Adrian's voice was steady, certain. When you're ready, if you're ready, but I need you to know that you don't have to hide anymore. Not from me, not from anyone. You're Serena Morrison, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. Tears were threatening again. What did I do to deserve you? You survived. You fought back. You built a life from nothing. He kissed my forehead. That's what you did. Over the next 6 months, I slowly reclaimed pieces of myself. I started going by Serena at home, even if I was still Elena at work. Adrian helped me see a therapist who specialized in trauma. I started processing everything I'd been through, started healing wounds I didn't even know I had, and slowly, carefully, we started gathering information. Adrian hired a private investigator, discreetly, quietly, just to confirm what I already knew, that Sabrina Morrison was living in Charleston as Serena Morrison, that she was married to James Whitmore, that they had a daughter, that she was pregnant again. The investigator found something else too. Dr. Jack Reynolds had transferred to Portland General 6 months ago, the same Dr. Jack Reynolds who had facilitated my transfer to County General, who had helped Sabrina make me disappear. He's here, Adrian said, showing me the report. In Portland, working at the hospital 10 minutes from here. Fate, I said quietly, or karma, or opportunity. Adrian looked at me. If he's been carrying guilt for what he did, if he's looking for a way to make it right, he could be the evidence you need. I'm not ready, I said. Not yet, I know, and that's okay. But when you are, we'll be ready too. I held on to those words like a promise. 2 years after the accident, almost 18 months after arriving in Portland, I was finally ready. Not for revenge, but for truth, for justice, for reclaiming my name and my life on my own terms. I didn't know that the truth was about to come out, whether I was ready or not. I didn't know that Dr. Reynolds's conscience was about to break him. I didn't know that in a hospital room 10 minutes away, Sabrina was about to be admitted for pregnancy complications, and that the doctor assigned to her case would be the same man who'd helped her commit the crime. I didn't know that everything was about to change, but it was. The dominoes were falling, and there was no stopping what came next. Dr. Jack Reynolds stared at the patient chart in his hands and felt the weight of 2 years of guilt come crashing down on him all at once. Patient name, Serena Whitmore. Pregnancy complications, 32 weeks. Admitted for monitoring and possible early delivery. But the woman in the hospital bed wasn't Serena Morrison. He knew that, had known it for 2 years, had taken $50,000 to make sure no one else ever knew it. Jack, the attending physician called from the doorway. We need you in room 412. High-risk pregnancy, potential preeclampsia. You're the best we have with complicated cases. He walked to room 412 on legs that felt like they were made of lead, pushed open the door, and came face to face with the woman whose crime he had facilitated. Sabrina was sitting up in bed, one hand on her swollen belly, her face tight with worry. When she saw him, her eyes went wide, just for a second. Then she controlled her expression, smiled that perfect smile. "Dr. Reynolds," she said. "Thank goodness. They said you were the best. Mrs. Whitmore." His voice came out steady, even though his hands were shaking. "Let's take a look at you and the baby." He did the examination on autopilot, checked her blood pressure, too high, listened to the baby's heartbeat, slightly elevated, reviewed her chart, noting the protein in her urine, the swelling in her extremities. "Early stage preeclampsia," he said. "We're going to keep you overnight for monitoring. If it gets worse, we may need to deliver early. But I'm only 32 weeks. Her hand tightened on her belly. "Is the baby going to be okay? We're going to do everything we can." He left the room, walked straight to the staff bathroom, and threw up. 2 years. 2 years he'd been carrying this. 2 years of waking up at 3 in the morning, seeing that woman's face, the real Serena Morrison, unconscious and vulnerable while he transferred her to County General like she was cargo instead of a human being. 2 years of watching Sabrina Morrison's life play out on social media. Wedding photos, baby announcements, the perfect family built on a foundation of lies and $50,000 in cash. 2 years of telling himself it was none of his business, that he'd just been doing what he was paid to do, that what happened after wasn't his responsibility, but it was. He knew it was, and now, preparing to treat the woman whose crime he'd enabled, looking at her pregnant belly and knowing that child would be born into a life built on attempted murder and identity theft. He couldn't do it anymore. He couldn't carry this weight another day. Jack walked out of the bathroom, past the nurse's station, straight to hospital administration. "I need to speak to someone," he said to the woman at the desk. "About a crime I committed 2 years ago." The confession took 3 hours. Jack sat in a sterile office across from a hospital administrator, a lawyer, and a police detective who'd been called in halfway through, and he told them everything. 2 years ago, I was working at Metro General in Charleston. A woman came to me with a proposition, $50,000 in cash to facilitate a transfer. He described the patient, Serena Morrison, admitted after a severe car accident, in a coma with significant brain swelling. He described the woman who approached him, her identical twin sister, Sabrina Morrison. She told me the family wanted Serena moved to a long-term care facility, that they'd found a better place for her recovery. I knew something was off. The request was unusual, but I had gambling debts, serious debts, the kind where people break your legs if you don't pay. The detective was taking notes, his face expressionless. "Go on." "I transferred Serena Morrison to County General under a false name, Jane Doe, kept her sedated. The plan was to keep her there indefinitely while Sabrina assumed her identity." "Assumed her identity? How?" Jack took a shaky breath. Sabrina took Serena's place at Metro General. When Serena woke up, Sabrina was already living her life. Engaged to her fiance, working at her law firm, living in her apartment. She became her. And the real Serena Morrison? The detective's voice was sharp. "What happened to her?" "She escaped County General about 2 months after the transfer. I don't know what happened to her after that. But the woman currently admitted in room 412 under the name Serena Whitmore, that's Sabrina Morrison. The real Serena Morrison is out there somewhere, and this woman stole her entire life." The room was silent for a long moment. "Do you have any proof of this?" the detective asked. "I have bank records showing a $50,000 cash deposit 2 years ago. I have the transfer paperwork from Metro General to County General, though the patient name was falsified. I have." He paused. "I have my testimony. I know what I did, and I'm willing to face the consequences if it means telling the truth." The hospital administrator was pale. "Dr. Reynolds, you understand that this confession will result in immediate suspension of your medical license pending investigation. Criminal charges will likely be filed." "I understand." "Why now?" the detective asked. "Why confess now, after 2 years?" Because I can't live with it anymore. Jack's voice broke. Because that woman in room 412 is about to have a baby, and that child deserves to be born into truth, not lies. Because somewhere out there, the real Serena Morrison is living as a ghost in her own life. And because what I did was wrong, unforgivably wrong. The detective stood. We're going to need you to come down to the station and give a formal statement, and we're going to need to verify your claims. I'll tell you whatever you need to know. That evening, Detective Sarah Chen sat in her car outside Pierce & Associates. Reviewing the file that had landed on her desk 3 hours ago, Dr. Jack Reynolds' confession had checked out. The bank records were real. The transfer paperwork from Metro General existed, though the patient had been listed as Jane Doe. And most damning, the fingerprints on file from Serena Morrison's law school registration didn't match the fingerprints taken from Sabrina Whitmore when she'd been admitted to Portland General. They matched fingerprints on file for Sabrina Morrison from a DUI arrest 5 years ago. The woman living as Serena Morrison for the past 2 years was definitively, provably Sabrina Morrison, which meant the real Serena Morrison was out there somewhere. And according to Dr. Reynolds, she'd escaped County General 18 months ago and disappeared. Sarah had spent the afternoon tracking her. It wasn't easy, but there was a trail if you knew where to look. A bus ticket purchased from Charleston to Portland 2 years ago. An ID issued to Elena Dawson with Serena Morrison's photo. Employment records at Pierce & Associates. The real Serena Morrison had been in Portland this whole time, living under an assumed name, working as an attorney 20 minutes from where her sister was about to give birth. Sarah knocked on the door of Adrian Pierce's penthouse at 7 p.m. A man answered, early 30s, sharp eyes, immediately wary. "Can I help you? I'm Detective Sarah Chen with Charleston PD, working with Portland PD on a case. I'm looking for Elena Dawson." "I understand she works for you? What's this about?" A woman appeared behind him. Sarah recognized her immediately from the law school photos. Serena Morrison, older, thinner, with eyes that had seen too much, but definitely her. "I'm Elena Dawson," the woman said quietly. "What's this about?" "Miss Dawson, or should I say, Miss Morrison." Sarah kept her voice gentle. "I'm here because Dr. Jack Reynolds confessed this afternoon to facilitating identity theft and fraud 2 years ago. He told us everything about what happened to you, about the accident, the coma, the transfer, about your sister taking your identity." Serena went white. She reached out, steadied herself against Adrian. He confessed, "Yes, ma'am, and I'm here to inform you that Sabrina Morrison was arrested an hour ago at Portland General. She's being held on charges of attempted murder, identity theft, fraud, and conspiracy." The words seemed to take a moment to land. Then Serena's legs gave out. Adrian caught her, lowered her to the couch, his face fierce with protection. "She needs a moment," he said. "I understand." Sarah sat down across from them. "Miss Morrison, I know this is a shock, but we're going to need your statement, your testimony. We have Dr. Reynolds' confession and physical evidence, but your account of what happened is crucial to the case." Serena was shaking. 2 years. 2 years I've been hiding, trying to build a new life, and now you get your real life back. Sarah said gently, "Your name, your identity, everything that was stolen from you. There's someone else," Serena said suddenly. James Whitmore. He thinks he's been married to me for 2 years. He has a daughter with her. He doesn't know. We've contacted Mr. Whitmore," Sarah said. "He's being informed of the situation now." "Oh God." Serena pressed her hands to her face. "This is really happening. This is real. It's real," Adrian said, pulling her close. "And I'm here. I'm right here with you, through all of it. There's something you should know," Sarah said carefully. "Your sister is in the hospital with pregnancy complications. She's 32 weeks pregnant with what she's told everyone is James Whitmore's second child." Serena looked up, tears streaming down her face. Is the baby okay?" "They're both stable for now. But Miss Morrison, there's one more thing. James Whitmore is at the hospital. He's been asking to see you, to speak with you. You're under no obligation to meet with him, but I wanted you to know." "I don't." Serena looked at Adrian. I don't know if I can face him. You don't have to do anything you're not ready for, Adrian said firmly. But Sarah saw something shift in Serena's expression. A hardening, a decision being made. Actually, Serena said, her voice steadier now, I want to see him. I want him to see me, to know that I survived, that I'm here. Are you sure? Adrian asked. I'm sure. Serena stood up, wiping her tears. For 2 years I've been hiding, running, living half a life because I was too afraid to face what she did to me. But I'm not afraid anymore. I want to look him in the eye and tell him the truth. Then I'll take you, Sarah said. Whenever you're ready. Serena looked at Adrian. Will you come with me? Always. The hospital corridor was too bright, too sterile, too full of memories Serena didn't want to revisit. Adrian held her hand tightly as they walked, Detective Chen leading the way. He's in a consultation room on the 3rd floor, Sarah said. He knows you're coming. She paused. He's not doing well. This has been a significant shock. Good, Serena said, then immediately felt guilty for the sharpness in her voice. They stopped outside a closed door. Sarah looked at Serena. You ready? No, but let's do it anyway. Sarah opened the door. James Whitmore sat in a chair by the window, his head in his hands. He looked up when they entered, and Serena saw immediately that the past 2 years had changed him too. He was grayer, thinner, with lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before, but it was his expression when he saw her that made her breath catch. Complete devastation. Serena, he whispered. His voice broke on her name. Oh God, Serena, is it really you? Yes. Her voice came out stronger than she felt. It's really me. James stood, took a step toward her, then stopped, like he didn't have the right to come closer. I didn't know. You have to believe me. I didn't know it was her. She knew everything, every memory, every detail. I thought you were the one who was confused. I stood in front of you 2 years ago, Serena said quietly. I begged you to believe me. And you chose her. Because she was pregnant. Because she'd been with me for 2 months. And you showed up wild and desperate, and His voice cracked. I made the wrong choice. The worst choice. And I have spent every day since wondering if I did the right thing. You didn't. The words came out flat. You betrayed me. You chose to believe her over me. And because of that choice, I lost everything. My career, my home, my identity, my life. I'm sorry. James was crying now, openly. I'm so sorry, Serena. If I could go back, if I could change it. You can't. And I wouldn't want you to. James looked up, confused. What? Because if you had believed me, if you had chosen me, I would have taken you back. I would have tried to make our relationship work, and I would never have discovered how weak it actually was. Serena stepped closer, and Adrian moved with her, a solid presence at her side. I would never have learned that real love means believing someone, even when the evidence seems impossible. Real love means knowing someone so deeply that you can't be fooled by an imitation. James's eyes moved to Adrian, then back to Serena. Who is he? This is Adrian Pierce, Serena said, and her voice softened. My fiancé, the man who believed me when it mattered, who saw me when I felt invisible, who loved me not because of what I could give him, but because of who I am. Adrian's hand tightened on hers. James's face crumpled. I loved you too. I did love you. You loved the idea of me. You loved having the perfect wife, the successful attorney, the woman who made you look good. But you didn't love me enough to trust me, to believe me when I needed you most. I made a mistake, James said desperately. The worst mistake of my life. But Serena, we have a daughter, Maya. She's 2 years old, and she's beautiful and smart, and she's not mine. The words came out harder than Serena intended. She's the daughter of the woman who tried to kill me, and I'm sorry for her. I truly am, but she's not my responsibility. What am I supposed to tell her? How do I explain that the woman she calls mommy is going to prison? That her entire life is a lie? You tell her the truth. Serena's voice was firm. You tell her that lies have consequences, that the people who love us don't try to erase us. And you make sure she grows up knowing that the truth matters more than comfort." James was silent for a long moment. Then, quietly, he asked, "Are you happy with him?" Serena looked at Adrian, saw the love and support in his eyes. "Happier than I ever was with you. Happier than I ever thought possible. Because Adrian doesn't just love me, James. He sees me, all of me, the broken parts, the scared parts, the parts that are still healing. And he loves me anyway." "Good," James said, and he sounded like he meant it. "That's good. You deserve that." "I know I do," Serena said. "It took me 2 years to believe it, but I know now." "Can I?" James hesitated. "Can I ask what happens next? With Sabrina, with the case?" "She goes to trial." Detective Chen spoke up from the doorway. "We have Dr. Reynolds' confession, hospital records, fingerprint evidence. The case against her is solid. And the baby," James's voice was small. "She's pregnant. What happens to the baby?" "That's up to the courts," Sarah said. "But Mr. Whitmore, you should know that given the circumstances, you may want to request a paternity test for both children." James's face went gray. You think they might not be mine?" "I think your wife has been lying to you for 2 years," Sarah said bluntly. "I think you should verify everything." Serena felt a flicker of something that might have been pity. Whatever Sabrina had done to her, James was a victim too. A fool, yes, willfully blind, absolutely, but still a victim of Sabrina's deception. "I'm sorry," Serena said, and meant it. "I'm sorry she did this to you too." James looked at her with red-rimmed eyes. Will you testify at the trial?" "Yes, if it helps put her away, if it helps get justice, yes. I'll testify. Thank you." Serena turned to leave, then paused at the door. "James, one more thing." "Yes?" "Stop blaming yourself for not knowing. She's my identical twin. She studied me for 28 years. She knew exactly how to be me. You couldn't have known, but I should have felt it," James said. "Should have known something was wrong. Maybe. Or maybe some people are just really good at lying. Either way, it's not your burden to carry. What happens to her now, that's on her, not you." She left before he could respond, walked down that too-bright hallway with Adrian beside her and Detective Chen behind her, and she felt lighter somehow, like confronting James had released something she'd been carrying. "He doesn't get to haunt me anymore," she said quietly. Adrian pulled her close, kissed her temple. "No, he doesn't." In her hospital room, Sabrina Morrison sat in handcuffs, one wrist secured to the bed rail, the other hand resting on her belly. A police officer stood by the door. A nurse checked her vitals periodically, professional but cold, and Sabrina stared at the wall and watched her perfect life disintegrate. It was over. She knew it was over. Dr. Reynolds had confessed. They had evidence. They had Serena, alive and ready to testify. 2 years. She'd had 2 years of everything she'd ever wanted. The career, the husband, the life. 2 years of being Serena Morrison, brilliant attorney, beloved wife, successful woman. And it had been perfect. Or it should have been. But it wasn't. Because every achievement felt hollow when it wasn't really hers. Every time James called her by her sister's name, she felt a spike of resentment. Every morning she woke up in Serena's life, she felt the weight of what she'd done pressing down on her. She'd tried to kill her sister, had run her off the road, left her for dead, then stolen her identity like stripping a corpse. And even with everything Sabrina had taken, she still wasn't happy. Still felt like she was playing a role. Still woke up at 3 a.m., terrified that someone would figure it out. The door opened. James walked in, his face unreadable. "Did you see her?" Sabrina asked. Her voice came out smaller than she intended. "Yes." And she's alive. She's successful. She's engaged to someone else." James sat down heavily in the chair by the bed. "She survived everything you did to her, and she built a better life than the one you stole." Sabrina felt tears prick her eyes. "I never meant for it to go this far." "You ran her off the road," James said, his voice flat. "You put her in a coma. You paid a doctor to make her disappear. You assumed her identity and married me under false pretenses. How much farther could it have gone? I loved you, Sabrina said desperately. I've loved you since Serena's wedding day. I stood there watching you marry her, and all I could think was that it should have been me. So, you took it. Took her life, her name, her fiancé. Yes, Sabrina's voice hardened. I took what should have been mine from the beginning. Serena always got everything. The scholarships, the career, the perfect life. Just because she was born 20 minutes before me. Just because she was smarter, prettier, better. You're identical twins, James said. You have the same face, but not the same opportunities. Not the same chances. Everyone always chose her. Our parents, our teachers, our friends. Always Serena, never Sabrina. So yes, I took what I deserved. You deserved nothing that you stole. James stood up. And our daughter, Maya. I loved her thinking she was part of Serena, part of the woman I'd loved. But she's yours, the child of someone who tried to commit murder. She's innocent in all this, I know, and I'm going to protect her from the truth as long as I can. But Sabrina, you need to understand something. James's voice was cold now. I'm requesting paternity tests for both Maya and this baby, because I can't trust a single word that comes out of your mouth. Sabrina's blood went cold. They're yours. Both of them are yours. Are they? Or is that just another lie? Because I'm realizing I don't know you at all. Don't know what you're capable of. The baby kicked, hard, and Sabrina winced. Please, James, whatever you think of me, please don't punish our children for my mistakes. I'm not punishing anyone, James said. I'm finding out the truth, maybe for the first time in 2 years. He left, and Sabrina sat in that hospital bed, handcuffed and pregnant, and utterly alone, and finally understood the cost of what she'd done. She'd stolen her sister's life, but in doing so, she'd destroyed her own. The paternity results came back 3 days later. Detective Chen delivered them to James in a sealed envelope. He opened it with shaking hands. Serena and Adrian present as witnesses. Maya Whitmore, 99.9% match to James Whitmore. Biological father confirmed. James let out a breath he'd been holding. Thank God. At least Maya is mine. But the second result made him go pale. Unborn child, 0% biological relation to James Whitmore. The baby isn't mine, he said, his voice hollow. She's pregnant, and the baby isn't mine. Do you know who the father might be? Sarah asked gently. No. No. James looked devastated. She was sleeping with someone else. The entire time. And I had no idea. We're going to need to investigate further, Sarah said. Find out who the biological father is. Does it matter? James crumpled the paper. Does any of this matter anymore? My entire life for the past 2 years has been a lie. It matters for the child, Serena said quietly. Every child deserves to know where they come from. Like Maya? James looked at her. She's going to grow up knowing her mother tried to kill her aunt, that her entire existence is built on a crime. Serena's expression softened. That's not her fault. And James, for what it's worth, I hope you'll protect her from as much of this as you can. She didn't choose any of this. I will. James's voice was firm. I'll make sure she knows she's loved. That none of this was her fault. Good. 2 weeks later, the biological father was identified. Derek Mitchell, a former colleague of Sabrina's from Charleston. He came forward after seeing the news, admitted to a year-long affair. She told me she was going to leave him, Derek said in his statement. Said she just needed to secure the money first, then we'd be together. Me, her, and our baby. She lied to everyone, Sarah said to Serena during one of the pre-trial meetings. Your sister didn't just steal your life. She built an entire empire of lies. That's what happens when you're never satisfied with who you are, Serena said. You keep trying to be someone else. The trial was set for 3 months later. Those 3 months were a whirlwind. Serena gave her deposition, laying out everything that had happened. Adrian stood beside her through all of it, solid and unwavering. Rose Fletcher flew out from Charleston, and Serena got to thank the woman who'd saved her life properly. And slowly, carefully, Serena reclaimed her identity. She filed paperwork to legally resume using her real name, contacted the Bar Association to reactivate her license, sent carefully worded letters to former colleagues at Hartwell and Associates, explaining what had happened. Some believed her immediately. Others were skeptical until they saw the evidence. But slowly, her reputation was restored. Adrian offered to make her a full partner at Pierce and Associates, under your real name this time, he said with a smile. She accepted. The day before the trial, Serena stood in front of the mirror in Adrian's bathroom and looked at herself. Really looked at the woman she'd become over the past 2 years. She was stronger than she'd been before, harder in some ways but also more resilient. She'd survived the impossible and come out the other side. You ready for tomorrow? Adrian asked, coming up behind her. I think so. Serena leaned back against him. I'm scared, but I'm ready. You're going to be extraordinary, he said, just like you always are. The courtroom was packed. Media, interested observers, legal professionals curious about the case of the identical twins. Serena walked in with Adrian on one side, her attorney on the other. Across the aisle, Sabrina sat at the defense table in a prison jumpsuit, her belly huge now, only weeks from delivery. She didn't look at Serena. Couldn't or wouldn't. Serena wasn't sure. All rise. The judge entered, a severe-looking woman in her 60s with sharp eyes. The prosecution laid out their case methodically. Dr. Reynolds testified first, his medical license already suspended, facing his own criminal charges. But he told the truth, every horrible detail of what he'd done and why. I was paid $50,000 by Sabrina Morrison to transfer her identical twin sister from Metro General to County General under a false name, to keep her sedated, to make her disappear so Sabrina could assume her identity. Do you regret your actions? The prosecutor asked. Every single day, Jack said, his voice breaking. I enabled a crime that destroyed an innocent woman's life. No amount of money was worth that. Hospital records were entered into evidence. Fingerprint analysis showing that the woman living as Serena Morrison was actually Sabrina Morrison. Financial records tracking the $50,000 payment. Then it was Serena's turn. She walked to the stand on steady legs, was sworn in, sat down, and told her story. She described the accident, the coma, waking up in County General to find her entire life had been stolen, going to James and having him look at her like she was crazy. I begged him to believe me, she said, her voice clear and strong. I told him details only I could know. But my sister had spent 2 months living as me. She knew everything, every memory, every private moment. She was a perfect imitation. How did that make you feel? The prosecutor asked. Erased, Serena said. Like I didn't exist anymore. Like I'd been deleted from my own life. And what did you do? I ran. I survived. I built a new life from nothing because that was the only choice I had. The defense attorney tried to shake her testimony, suggested that Serena had been unstable, jealous, confused. But Serena didn't break. She answered every question calmly, truthfully, with the evidence to back up every claim. Miss Morrison, the defense attorney said, isn't it true that you and your sister were often competitive? That you resented her struggles while you succeeded? I was sad that we grew apart, Serena said. But I never resented her. I tried to help her many times. She was the one who resented me. And yet, you want this jury to believe she tried to kill you simply out of jealousy? I want this jury to look at the evidence, Serena said firmly. The accident reconstruction showing my car was deliberately run off the road. Dr. Reynolds' testimony about being paid to hide me. The fingerprint evidence proving she assumed my identity. The life she built using my name, my credentials, my relationships. The evidence speaks for itself. Finally, at the end of the prosecution's case, they played the recording. The one piece of evidence that destroyed any remaining doubt. It was from a phone call between Sabrina and Dr. Reynolds, recorded by hospital security systems 2 months after the accident. Sabrina's voice, clear and unmistakable. She's still in the coma? Dr. Reynolds, yes. The real Serena is sedated at County General under a false name. No one knows she's there. Sabrina, good. Keep her that way. I've worked too hard to become her. I'm not giving this life back. The courtroom was silent when the recording ended. Every eye turned to Sabrina, who sat with her head down, shoulders shaking. The defense rested without calling her to testify. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they returned, the forewoman stood. On the charge of attempted murder in the first degree, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of identity theft? Guilty. On the charge of fraud? Guilty. On all 17 charges, the same verdict. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Sabrina collapsed in her chair, sobbing. Her attorney put a hand on her shoulder, but she shook it off. The judge set sentencing for 2 weeks later, after Sabrina delivered her baby. Serena sat in the courtroom and felt a wave of emotion so strong it almost knocked her over. Relief, vindication, grief for the sister she'd lost, gratitude for surviving. Adrian pulled her close. "You did it," he whispered. It's over, she repeated. And for the first time, she believed it. Sabrina gave birth 3 days later to a healthy baby boy. Derek Mitchell was there, meeting his son for the first time. The baby was placed in his custody immediately. Maya remained with James, who was already in therapy, to help him navigate the impossible task of explaining to a 2-year-old that mommy had to go away. Sentencing day arrived cold and gray. Sabrina was brought into the courtroom in shackles, no longer pregnant, looking smaller somehow, diminished. The judge looked at her with no sympathy. "Miss Morrison, you have been convicted of 17 felony counts, including attempted murder, identity theft, fraud, and conspiracy. Before I pass sentence, do you have anything to say?" Sabrina stood slowly, looked across the courtroom to where Serena sat with Adrian. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice barely audible. "For all of it. For hating you, for trying to be you, for trying to erase you. I'm sorry." Serena's expression didn't change. She'd waited 2 years to hear those words, but they felt empty now. Too little, too late. "I was jealous my entire life," Sabrina continued, tears streaming down her face. "You had everything I wanted, everything I thought I deserved, and I convinced myself that if I could just be you, I'd finally be happy." Her voice broke. "But I wasn't. I spent 2 years living your life, and I was miserable every single day. Because it wasn't mine. It was stolen, and stolen things never bring happiness." The judge's expression remained stern. "Miss Morrison, your remorse is noted. However, your actions caused immeasurable harm, not just to your sister, but to everyone around you. Mr. Whitmore, his children, Dr. Reynolds, all victims of your deception." She opened the sentencing document. "On the charge of attempted murder in the first degree, I sentence you to 15 years in state prison. On the charges of identity theft and fraud, an additional 8 years to run consecutively. Total sentence, 23 years with possibility of parole after 15. Sabrina's legs gave out. The bailiff caught her as she fell. "Court is adjourned." They led Sabrina away, and Serena watched her identical twin disappear through the doors to the holding cells. Watched the woman who'd tried to erase her be erased herself by the justice system, and she felt nothing but peace. Outside the courthouse, media swarmed. Serena made a brief statement, Adrian's hand firmly in hers. "This case was about more than identity theft," she said into the microphones. "It was about the fundamental truth that you cannot steal someone's life. You cannot erase someone's existence just because you want what they have." She took a breath. "For 2 years, I lived as a ghost. But I survived. I rebuilt. And I'm standing here today as proof that stolen lives can be reclaimed, that broken people can be made whole, and that the truth, no matter how long it takes, will always come to light." "What's next for you?" a reporter called. "Living," Serena said simply. "Really, truly living. Under my own name, on my own terms, with people who see me and value me for who I really am." She looked at Adrian, smiled. "I'm going to build a life so beautiful that what was stolen won't matter anymore." They walked away from the courthouse hand in hand, leaving the media and the spectacle behind. 6 months later, Serena Morrison and Adrian Pierce stood on a beach at sunset. The ceremony was small. Rose Fletcher in the front row, crying happy tears. A handful of friends from Pierce and Associates. Serena's parents, who had flown out and apologized 1,000 times for not believing her 2 years ago. No media, no spectacle, just two people who'd found each other in the wreckage and built something beautiful. Adrian took her hands, his eyes bright with emotion. "Serena Morrison, you are the strongest, most extraordinary person I've ever known. You survived the impossible, rebuilt from nothing, and taught me that real love means believing someone even when the world says you're wrong." His voice was steady, sure. "I promise to see you, every day, exactly as you are. To love you, not in spite of what you've been through, but including all of it. To stand beside you in every battle, and celebrate every victory. To be your partner, your safe place, your home." Serena was crying, but smiling through the tears. "Adrian Pierce, you appeared in my life when I was invisible and made me seen again. You believed me when no one else would. You loved me when I didn't think I deserved it." She squeezed his hands. "I promise to build a life with you that's honest and real and ours. To trust you with my whole heart. To be your partner in everything. And to never, ever take for granted the gift of being loved exactly as I am. I now pronounce you husband and wife." The officiant beamed. "You may kiss your bride." Adrian pulled her close and kissed her as the sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. And Serena Morrison, who had lost everything and found it again, who had been erased and reclaimed herself, who had survived the impossible, finally had her happy ending. Not because someone gave it to her, but because she built it herself. 2 years after the trial, Serena sat in her office at Pierce & Associates, now a full partner, and took a call from an unexpected source. "Is this Serena Morrison?" a hesitant voice asked. "Yes." "Who is this?" "This is James Whitmore. I hope it's okay that I called." Serena leaned back in her chair, surprised. "James, is everything all right?" "Yes, I wanted you to know that Maya started kindergarten this week, and she's doing really well." "That's good. I'm glad." "She asks about her mother sometimes," James said quietly. "I tell her that her mom made some bad choices and has to be away for a while. I don't know how to explain the rest yet." "You'll figure it out when the time is right," Serena said gently. "How are you doing?" "Better. Therapy helps. And Maya, she's amazing, smart and funny and kind." James paused. "She has your eyes, you know. I mean, genetically she's Sabrina's daughter, but she has the Morrison eyes. And sometimes I look at her and think about what might have been." "James, don't do that to yourself." "I know. I just wanted to say, I wanted to thank you for not holding what Sabrina did against Maya, for speaking kindly about her at the trial, for being the bigger person. She's an innocent child," Serena said. "She deserves kindness." "So did you," James said. "And I failed to give it to you when it mattered most. I'll regret that for the rest of my life." "I've forgiven you," Serena said honestly. "I'm happy now, James, really happy. And I hope you find happiness too. Thank you. That means more than you know." They said goodbye, and Serena hung up feeling lighter. The past didn't haunt her anymore. It was just something that had happened, something she'd survived, something that had made her stronger. Adrian walked into her office, smiled when he saw her. "Ready to go home?" She stood, took his hand. "Always." As they walked out of the office together, Serena caught her reflection in the glass doors. And she saw someone she recognized. Not the broken woman who'd woken up in County General. Not the scared woman hiding in Portland as Elena Dawson. Just Serena Morrison Pierce, attorney, wife, survivor, exactly who she was always meant to be. Family. That's the end of Serena's story. From the hospital room, where the truth exploded, to the courtroom where justice was served, to the beach where love triumphed, you've walked every step of this journey with her. But before we close this chapter, I need to talk to you about something important. About the lessons in this story that matter for your life, right now, today. Serena's sister tried to steal her identity, but here's what Sabrina never understood. You can steal someone's circumstances, their possessions, their relationships, but you cannot steal who they are. Serena Morrison was a brilliant attorney, whether she practiced under her own name or not. She was strong whether she lived in a penthouse or a hostel. She was valuable whether James Whitmore believed her or not. Because who you are isn't determined by what you have. It's determined by what you do when everything is taken away. Some of you watching this right now, you're in your darkest moment. Someone betrayed you. Someone stole something precious. Someone tried to erase you, diminish you, make you invisible. And you're wondering if you'll survive this, if you'll ever be whole again, if life will ever be good. I need you to hear this, you will. You are. It can be. Because you are more than what was done to you. You are more than who hurt you. You are more than your worst day, your deepest wound, your most painful betrayal. Serena lost everything. Her career, her home, her identity, the man she loved. She woke up from a coma to discover she'd been erased. And she survived. Not just survived, but thrived. She built a better life than the one that was stolen because she understood something crucial. The life you build yourself is always stronger than the life someone gives you. If someone had fixed everything for Serena, if some miracle had restored her old life immediately, she never would have met Adrian, never would have discovered her own strength, never would have learned that she could survive anything. The betrayal, as painful as it was, freed her to become who she was always meant to be. So if you're rebuilding right now, if you're starting over with nothing, if you wondering how you'll make it through, I want you to remember Serena's story. She started with $2,000 and a fake name, and she built a partnership at a prestigious firm, a marriage to a man who truly sees her, and a life that's completely, authentically hers. You can too. Whatever you're building, it's going to be beautiful, it's going to be real, and it's going to be yours. Now, family, I need something from you. If this story moved you, if Serena's journey inspired you, if you believe that truth matters, and justice exists and broken people can be made whole, hit that like button right now. Smash it. This story needs to reach people who are fighting battles we can't see. People who need to know they're not alone. Share this video. Send it to someone who's rebuilding, someone who's been betrayed, someone who needs hope. Your share might be the thing that saves someone's life today. Comment below and tell me, what was the most powerful moment in this story for you? What lesson are you taking away? Have you ever had to rebuild from nothing? Where are you watching from? Or just say, I'm with you, Mr. Hearthline. I want to feel this family's presence. Subscribe to Mr. Hearthline Stories if you haven't already. Turn on those notifications, because this channel is where we tell the truth about life, about betrayal, about survival, and about the beautiful, hard, extraordinary work of becoming whole again. Remember this, family. The people who tried to destroy you don't get to write your ending. You do. So write it well. Write it with courage. Write it with hope. Write it knowing that every ending is also a beginning. You are more than your worst moment. You are stronger than what tried to break you. You are worthy of love that sees you, believes you, chooses you. And your story? It's not over. In fact, the best chapters might be the ones you haven't written yet. Until the next story, family, walk in courage. Fight with grace, love without fear. And remember, you are seen. You are valued. You are powerful beyond measure. This is Mr. Hearthline, and you are loved.